Hello, everybody. And this is the broadcast room. And it's all finally been done. It's absolutely gorgeous in here, other than that little rough corner. As you can see, got my TV, got everything going. My little shield, Infinity Gauntlet. So... Hey everybody, most of you guys know who I am, obviously, you're on my Facebook, and, jeez, I hate when that happens. So I finally decided to try a new format here, and as you can see, I've got my Yeti now, and I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of research over the last few weeks, trying to get together something for my show that I'm trying to put together myself. I know a lot of you guys out there have been patiently awaiting me to get back to YouTube and other places. Needless to say, my first efforts were extremely crude, and I just didn't feel that I was ready to get out there and get my name to be seen. I mean, when you hit the public sphere, you open yourself up to a lot of things in this world, and in some of the cases, most assuredly, two of the biggest ones are, you know, being opened up to critique and mockery. And it's something I've been afraid of for a long time, and I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to go and do what Memeology 101 said yesterday on Gary Beegler's show over at Friday Night Tights, and he said, "F it." Literally, he said, "I'm just going to do this thing." So my next investment today will be to get a camera, a real camera. This will probably, hopefully, be one of the last times I record on my crappy phone. You know, I know a lot of you guys out there that have been on my Facebook for a long time, both heroes and villains and other people. You've been waiting for me to make this step for a long time. To the bad guys, well, I'm coming. There's nothing stopping. So let's get started off. This is going to be my official first episode of The Rogue Scholar. My show is going to evolve over time, but as of right now, I'm going to start with trying to keep this show to between 30 minutes to 45 minutes maybe, and breaking it up into segments like Tim Pool does. I've learned an awful lot about the digital medium and what works and what doesn't work on many of the platforms that are out there. Tim Pool seems to be one of the masters of this, and I really enjoy what he does. So maybe that'll help some. So today's show is going to be, as far as for the purpose of what we're going to be doing here, is going to be on the breakdown as such. We're going to do an episode breakdown of the Rogue Scholar via current events. We're going to look at and do a pop culture analysis according to what I like, with a deep discussion regarding Kathleen Kennedy and her departure potentially from Lucasfilm in October. We're going to do some talking about plans and travel in the future, Comic-Cons, things you might want to learn about, some of Wisconsinite plans and culture. I'm going to do another one about what's called the next. My friend Dwayne always keeps talking about what it means to be next. I think it's a mindset, and I do believe that we should learn how to forecast what's coming in the future. I see a lot of broadcasters, including certain people like Tim Pool and others, that are trying to forecast the events both financially and culturally for the country. While I don't agree with all their analysis and or their how shall we put it, their discourse, I do feel that what they have to say is relevant, and that we should all get into the mindset of learning how to predict what's coming next so that we can accordingly adapt. And that's one of the biggest things, especially in the culture. I'm going to talk about channels of the week. So I'm going to give you 4 or 5 of my favorite YouTube channels and their content. We're going to talk about possibly some personal notes in my life, because I know that there's always a personal component. One of the main ones will be about why I miss serving. We're going to talk about Dune. We're going to talk about the impact of digital currency. This is going to be a pretty big episode, guys. I've got a lot coming. You may not see, given the camera, but behind me, I have a bunch of tabs opened up to YouTube and a few other spots for a breakdown, analysis, and just kind of like to give you kind of the mindset, the idea of what I watch and where I get some of my information from. I think it's important. One of the biggest things I don't see a lot of people out there doing, especially on shows like Tim Pool, a lot of leftists channels and other stuff like that, I don't see people giving and citing their sources as to the credibility of their information. And I find it's all too easy these days to become a parrot, to sit here and just parrot away information without giving your source. The truest of critical thinkers and people that are engaging in what we call civil discourse are capable of dispensing with facts, with credible sources, which is something I see often. And this leads into this current state of events. Over the last course of the few weeks, there's been a huge discussion about whether or not Biden's extra $300 a week is a good thing. And there's a lot of good pro and con arguments, which is another thing I'm seeing here is we don't see people engaging in discourse regarding, I just have my view. And for example, several major media outlets seem to think that the $300 extra a week is terrible. Now, what's my personal opinion on it? I think it has its good and bad points. And I think that it's there. And it has effects on society. And I think that people just sitting here saying it's a part of this larger conspiracy theory to tank small businesses or this and that and the other thing, these are good points. I do find them to be unfounded. I think the $300 a week is a great thing for people, one, who are out of work, considering the numbers. Let's look at the numbers. Let's go to us.gov, for example. We have right now between 18 to 24 million people that are underemployed in this country right now, that are hurting, whether that's by choice or because of the market, I don't know. But I would say that for starters, the $300 a week that's been cut off in all these Republican states and some Democrat states that disagree with this, we're going to see the social effects of this soon and within the next few weeks as this money disappears. And then let's stack on top of that the fact that there's a huge moratorium on housing right now as far as being evicted out of your home. I know this for a fact in Wisconsin. It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not Joe Biden tries to extend that moratorium, because I know a lot of people out there. I've talked to people that are landlords that own homes in my area, and I've done a little research, and they're just waiting. They're just waiting for September to come. So as of right now, we're in the current events segment of this discussion, and this is part of current events because this is going to deeply affect us. So I want you guys to think about this for a minute. We have a huge problem right now, this argument whether people should get $300 a week, but yet we haven't even technically, according to the government, left the pandemic. We have massive swaths of people in many sections of this large country that are not engaging, not going to work still, not going out in public, not spending their money, not doing a lot of things because of the coup, because they're afraid, because a lot of people out there are refusing to get vaccinated. The new Delta variant, for example, that's coming potentially. There's a lot of different stuff that's contributing to this problem. And I feel, personally, that it would be foolhardy to end a government program that is supporting such a large swath of Americans at this time, even though I know it's expensive, even I know it's bad for the economy, because a lot of people are refusing to go back to work. There's many reasons why people are not going back to the economy to work. Is it because they're lazy? Yes. I would say that that's a mitigating factor or a contributing factor. I would say that a mitigating factor to people going back to work is the fact that, well, why would you want to go back to work at 16 when you can collect 16 an hour from the government? There are people who genuinely have a health condition. So I think this is more of an individual basis, and that people try to sit here and take this, well, my point of view blankets the entire problem approach, is one, foolish, and two, foolhardy. What I mean by foolhardy is that we should just press on without exploring the issue. The money is there. Personally, I think that the rest of these economies that are hurting or thriving should take the money and let it go and let people make their decisions. From the Republican standpoint of it, I can see why you want to, get the lazy people back to work, the freeloaders and all this and that. Look, let them make their bad decisions. You're all about autonomy, right, Republicans? So I'm going to say this to you. Let people make their bad decisions. If they're going to make them, get out of their business. This is where Republicans fail on their big government argument approach. They say, well, we shouldn't regulate the situation, but yet you're cutting off this aid to people who may or may not need it. You don't know. It's case by case. Just to sit here and say something doesn't work. And to the Democrats out there who think this is going to lead to UBI or some kind of like a permanent system here, that's not going to happen. You better start thinking about what's coming in a couple of months, people, especially if you're on the $300 a month, because right now some people out there making between $2,400 to almost $3,000 a month sitting on their ass end. I know other people out there that are barely scraping by with the benefits, and they're working. So once again, I think it's an individual base by base thing, and we should look at this from an even-handed, middle of the road approach. And that's where I want to try to be with my channel. I'm going to point out both sides. I really don't have much stake in this. I'm doing well for myself. My financial status is none of your business. And how I'm doing is pretty much very self-explanatory on my Facebook. I go out, I do a lot of things, I travel often. I'm well on my way to completing my degree. And so as far as how this impacts myself, I don't really have any real skin in the game at this point. Okay? But I do know this. So let's look at the lineup here regarding this current event. All this aid being cut and how Joe Biden here approaches the thing, which I got a clip I'm going to play about that. I'm going to commentate on. To be honest with all of you, when September hits and the moratoriums lift and all this money disappears and the job market gets flooded with all these applicants, they say that there's I think almost 10 million jobs out there. That's great that are not being filled, but let's look at the nature of these jobs. Are they all full-time? My guess is probably not. Are they all paying $15 an hour or better, which is basically the new minimum wage? Probably not. Most of the jobs in my local area, you get $12 an hour to start in fast food. The factories pay really well out here in Eau Claire area, but that's neither here nor there. That's individual by individual case, community by community basis. And this is why we have such a need for small government to react. Whereas there's this war currently going on between small government and the federal government. We need to be working in conjunction with each other to ease people through this, or we're going to have a huge crisis coming. Because my prediction is this: the moratoriums will lift. We're going to see a shit ton of people go homeless. The money's not going to renew. Joe Biden's not. He's going to cut the tit. It's over. He's not going to either get anything passed, or it's just that's it. It's over. Okay, and also we cut aid too early to people who need it. I feel. Still, yes, are there people abusing the system? Yes. That's why we have a system of investigation to report these people and let a person judge this by a case-by-case basis. Instead, people like Lori Boebert and a certain Democratic governor want to use a unilateral approach. Well, unilateral, monolithic approaches and solutions to problems that are complex yet simple, or require a simple solution, according to Occam's razor, it doesn't work, because then you're going to have people slip through the cracks, and we're going to have suffering. Okay, we're the richest country on the planet, and like Creepy Joe just whispered into his little microphone yesterday about how he got $1.9 trillion. It doesn't matter. Okay, the money's there. Use it. Prop your economy up. Help the people out that need help. Okay, all right. You want to catch a lazy person, report them, let the authorities in that state handle it. And if they slip through the cracks and you had to work 60 hours a week during the pandemic, well, I feel for you. That's no fault of my own or the person who got the $300 a week. You chose to work. Okay? You chose to work. So I'm going to handle that. And to you lefties out there just thinking, like I said, you're just going to be lazy and it's going to be a free ride. And like the other day I was at a store, and I was having this discussion, and I had leftists openly attacking me. I had leftists fabricate stories and try to get me canceled effectively via legal, lawful means, meaning through law enforcement. They made up a story, and it got really ugly. It was ugly. And it shows me something. it shows me how childish that side of this argument is, to be honest. And you are children. Anybody who responds the way that the hard left, and I want everybody to look at this from a political perspective, the hard left have reacted with violence, anger, cancel culture, belittling others, name calling. This is not stuff adults do. So I got a book for you guys to read, you lefties. I want you to learn how to debate. It's called The Gentle Art of Self-Defense. It's something I need to be engaging in. I'm not perfect. I've engaged in every behavior you're talking about because it's easy to fall into your emotional states and become angry. Practice stoicism. Get your shit in control. Okay? Learn how to talk to other people. And if you can't defend yourself in a simple debate where there's not even meanings of the words being established, it's not like this is a high school or we don't even have debates in college anymore, then don't bother. Just keep to yourself. Be polite. You talk about civil society and how you're the foundation of it. I don't think so. I think the far left, the ones who did all the looting and the burning and all this other stuff, I think you're terrorists in some cases. Some, not all. So I don't want to use a blanket term. But if you engage in violence, cancel culture is violent. You are a social terrorist. That goes to the right too. If you engage in cancel culture, and it is unwarranted, meaning this is individual case by case, but in most cases, if you just decide you don't like what somebody said and you're going to try to cancel their life, you are a rude, arrogant, childish terrorist. Okay? So I just want to get that out of the way right now. I'm not going to engage in cancel culture. I'm here to debate. And I'm going to be learning how to engage. This is one of the books I'm reading. This is one of my reads of the week. I have, as the Rogue Scholar, a shit ton of books that I have not read and read. I have a ton of books at my other house at the Beta site in Wausau. And I'm going to be reading them. I suggest you to too, or you do as well. A real scholar is well read. A real scholar, before they open their mouth, engages in all the possibilities in the debate before the debate has even begun, with respect and dignity to the other side, which, once again, I have failed as well. That's what the purpose of this channel is. It's an out. It's to create an ability for myself to engage these issues in a constructive format. So, and in a good tone as well. Let's talk about Creepy Joe here. I want you guys to hear this. This was our president the other night, guys. I want you to hear this. Here we go. Here we go.
Battery, 60%.
1.9. I got them.
I want you guys to hear this. Watch this.
I got them. $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are
Creepy, maybe a little bit, but given the context, I think he was being sardonic. I think our president's pumped up right here now on a bunch of methamphetamine. And yeah, does he have dementia? Yes. Does he have problems? Yes. But is this to the point where we should be having him yanked, out of the presidency? No, I don't see that right now. Now, is there other behaviors he's engaged in that shake my confidence in Joe Biden? Absolutely. But I don't want to ever hear people talk about how President Trump wasn't presidential. Does that sound presidential to you? Here, well, let's get some more. Come on.
sequential this week for childcare. A lot has been happened already, number one. Number two, I'm going to fight like heck to get them the rest of what I think has to be done. I'm going to be going around the country, spending time making the case to the American people that this just isn't about showing an identification that this is who I am when I vote. This isn't just about whether or not, you can provide water for someone standing in line while they're waiting to vote. This is about who gets to judge whether your vote counted after it's been cast. Think about it. Don't dismiss it at all. Just remind them, I wrote the bill on the environment.
Why are you talking like a weirdo again? I get it. You're just doing it to drive a point home. A lot of us tend to do that. This is, I feel, not abnormal behavior. Is it not presidential? Yeah. But I gotta give him this. That was some pretty, that's some pretty good oratory, man. I enjoyed this. I think it's fucking hilarious. It's funny, but this is your current president, guys. We used to have a great men like Ronald Reagan. You know, for all you guys out there who talk about how great Trump is, I'm going to smash that argument right now. We're going to do some current events here. Trump had the chance to break big tech. Trump had the chance to do a whole bunch of other stuff, and he refused to pull the trigger. The leftists out there, the hard left, who I'm going to keep going after, these guys, they freak out and need safe spaces. You need safe spaces from a person like me? Because I'm going to send something that's offending you? This is, you guys are coming and talking at a person that has to, at the age of 10, in the mid-1980s, used to have to do duck and cover drills. I remember my teacher telling me this one day, because I got up from underneath my desk and I walked up to Mrs. Dorman in 5th grade at Dixon Elementary School. And I went, why are we doing this? And she said, evil men with big bombs are threatening to kill us. This may save your life. From what? You don't know? No. Nuclear Armageddon, nuclear weapons. President Reagan, during his 8 years, fought the Cold War. Several points in time, he had to call up the Russian premier and go, hey, did you launch your bombs? I can note one, there was one incident. The United States NORAD had put in a brand new radar system, and its radar waves hit the moon and came back. The computer at the time, yeah, we had a computer running our defense system. Skynet, anybody? Registered it as a massive nuclear attack and put us automatically at DEFCON 3. We were scrambling bombers on, I think it was 1986. It was either 85 or 86 on Christmas Eve. President Ronald Reagan had to call the Russian premier. And this is one of several incidences. Did you launch your bombs? No. Yeah, well, we're preparing. Why are you guys getting ready to launch? I don't know. Ronald Reagan had to pick up the red phone. You know what that little red phone is? That red phone is what used to be the direct line to the Russian leadership. That's what I grew up in. Okay? I grew up in a world that crazy. Now, Russia sits here and threatens the United States with nuclear Armageddon, or China threatens the United States with nuclear Armageddon, and this potato head here is sitting there. I'm whispering into microphones. Yeah. That's not a good president. Joe Biden right now should be handling China. They have threatened to nuke us. I grew up during the nuclear Armageddon age. Ronald Reagan would have stuffed that idiot Xi Jinping into a small little box and put him on a fucking bow tie and left him out there for the rest of the world to see. He'd have shoved so many aircraft carriers down Xi Jinping's throat that they'd be shitting steel for a week, okay? Ronald Reagan was a steely-eyed missile man, ready to take the world to the brink if necessary to win, because we operated underneath detente, mutually assured destruction. That's the world I grew up in. Now, fortunately, most of the snowflakes out there, you didn't have to, melt underneath that kind of heat. You grew up in safe high schools, and you grew up good, and you had computers, and you have phones, you have all the things I didn't grow up with. I didn't have these when I was growing up. My president took on a drug war. Not only did he take on the USSR, Ronald Reagan took on the drug war. Crack. Wiped out my hometown of Detroit. I grew up during that. All the mass shootings. Laws don't stop shootings. Curbing down crime does. And what's the first thing the hard left does? You defund the police. Now, there's all kinds of reasoning behind that. My guess is you're probably trying to get all these good men to quit. A lot of them. Yeah, are there bad eggs? There are. I agree. I don't like some of the tactics the police use. I work with my law enforcement around me. Menominee PD definitely knows who I am, okay? They know. They've been called on me, and I've called them, and you work on it as a community. You work on things as a community, okay? All right? Defunding the police only serves three purposes. One, in blue cities, is to get rid of conservative police officers or other police officers and throw your own people in to take it over and infiltrate it. Number two, it spikes the crime. And if you look at any kind of community that's based on an aggressive court system, large amounts of crime results in revenue generated, which then results in you needing a larger police force, which then results in those people that defunding it, taking control of the institution, and then finally having it for themselves. That's what's happening. And three, finally, yeah, you see the reluctance of law enforcement. You see a reduction of actual justice being carried out on our streets by defunding the police. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, do I feel that we should give police mega budgets and allow them to arm up and become militarized? No. Obama did that during his time. Now, a lot of other communities, because Obama's not most directly responsible for this, I'm not going to blame him, but he provided the money. It was there. That was 2013, 2012. I remember all that. I also remember a militarization of the police in the early 90s, which then resulted in the Rodney King incidences. Nothing, what I'm basically trying to say here, guys, is in this round of current events that we're still talking about, is that, how do I put this? There's still, we've been through this before. We have been through all of this before. And history has shown us there are certain ways to deal with certain things, especially when you're the largest superpower in the world. And we are. 14 aircraft carriers, the largest military, and the largest non-enlisted standing army on the planet at 70 to 100 million people. Okay? We can handle our problems. And we need to take a very strong stance on China militarily for Taiwan. We'll talk about that later. Taiwan right now is getting ready for open war with China. China flew like, I think, 30 or 40 fighter jets right over their airspace. This was the other day. China's been taking very aggressive action against Taiwan. And I do feel that the South Chinese Sea is going to be where the flashpoint of the Third World War, when it goes kinetic, is going to happen. Facts. Let's finish this out. So let's take a further look at Mr. Potato Head here. Here we go.
And would I not be for it? Employers can't find workers. I said, yeah, pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now.
Yeah, only until September. That's what this potato head doesn't realize, is when the money runs out, here's what the employers are going to do. So all these sign-on bonuses to get everybody to come in, you got to stay at that place for a certain period of time. I talked to somebody who owns a business. This is what they're doing to all you out there. So this is how the right and the left are fucking each other. I want you to see this. You are in the middle, people. I want you to stop taking sides, and I want you to start thinking about yourself first. So, you got your little bargaining chip. Yeah, I can sit on my duff and only make $16 an hour and not basically have to pay any taxes on that money. True. However, this is what the employers are going to do. They lure you in with the higher rate of pay, okay? So you come in, you make $15, $14 an hour. You think, okay, I'm getting this big sign-on bonus. Let's say you get a $2K sign-on bonus. You go work at, I don't know, we'll call it Nowheresville, USA. Nowheresville, USA is hiring you in at $15 an hour plus benefits, and then you get we'll say a $3,000 sign-on bonus. But you got to be there 6 months, a year. Here's what I do. I'm Nowheresville, USA. All right, now I got everybody in here. They're making more than most of my on-floor employees, or most of my on-floor employees had to work 5 years to get to that 15-something an hour, right? Here's what I do. Now, all those other employees are pissed off at those new employees. They come in, they fill the holes in my workforce. Before that 1 year is up, I get rid of them. I turn them over. I use aggressive HR policies, and I get them out, and when I rehire them, I get them back in at 11. And I never pay that sign-on bonus. Oh, and by the way, I get the government incentive bonus, the tax cut. There's a tax cut, by the way. Yeah, for every employee right now that's hired that gets off the $300 a month bonus, businesses get that tax break. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to assume it's a big number. Because I have never seen this many hire for hire signs ever in my life. There's no way a coffee shop with 3 employees needs more people. They're trying to cut their taxes. And they're going to use you to do it. So if you are on the government toll and dole, and you think you're just gonna roll in and you're just gonna roll over the system, no, you're not. They're gonna screw you. Because all that's gonna disappear in September. Watch. The whole country after September, October, November, it's gonna be night and fucking day, people. I've studied sociology, I've studied social engineering, I've studied psychology, I have a shit ton of books here. Okay? I've read it all. I've read every one of these books cover to cover. Matter of fact, this was one of my textbooks over back from, I believe from UW. Yeah, this is from Stout. One of my professors gave me this. This is another one of my books I've read, my abnormal psychology book. I have several of these. I have criminal psychology. I have a bunch of them. I've read these cover to cover. I know how a cluster 4 disorder is going to affect a criminal's ability to commit a crime or to extricate a crime. All right? And I'm saying this right now. You think it's bad last year, and that's fine. We're not going to have people burning down cities, but you think crime has spiked in the cities now? Wait till that Biden money runs out. Wait till that 24 million people try to fill that 10 million job gap. It's going to leave 15 million people in the wind. Cheers. Let's see what else we can talk about here. We got Tim Pool. Let's move on here. Here we go. Let's talk about this one.
You know, we need a critical conservative theory. So all the conservatives. Here you go. Critical theory was, you know, the Marxist, rooted very much in the Marxist ideology of oppressors and oppressed, based on class. I was actually just reading some good old critical race theory to better understand what they're talking about, and Kimberly Crenshaw wrote that they coined the phrase critical race theory on purpose so that people understood it came from the Marxist framework of critical theory, but critical theory and Marxism didn't understand American racism. So they needed to take his philosophy of oppressed and oppressor and apply it to racial politics in the United States. So we'll do the same.
How convenient, hence the rise of identitarian politics. Critical race theory, by the way, a good portion of that originated in Madison, Wisconsin. For all you guys out there who don't know, Madison, Wisconsin is where most of the far left get a lot of their marching orders from. I know many people from Portland in Madison and from Madison in Portland. It's a very interesting dichotomy there. But if you look at the relationship, it is sound. But he's correct. Critical race theory is based on the idea of this, the oppressor and the oppressed, and then they took it, and then they applied it to identitarian politics. Because right now, the Democratic Party can't go any further left. There's been this shift of what they call the Overton window. The Overton window is the general beliefs of any given society or large swaths of groups of people within that said society. Okay? The Overton window is like, okay, for example, let's go on the stance of gun control. For example, let's say you believe the general notion of most society is that we should have some basic gun laws to protect people from, you know, a nut job getting a gun and killing people, okay? Like a mass shooter, for example. You know, a shift in that belief system or its oval window, meaning what falls into that area, would be now society radically within a 2 or 3 year shift, believing that all semi-automatics should be banned and that no one should own anything but a hunting rifle. That's a dramatic shift in the Overton window, in the generalized society. And this Overton window applies to most things, okay? Like, for example, car regulations. What can be said in a school by a teacher? This is social engineering 101, okay? For a society to function and properly hold itself together, we must have an Overton window of common belief systems that is shared by most of the members of the society within what we would call a contractarian stance, meaning we all are in agreement that these things should be agreed upon so that we can all have a better life together. And we give up certain freedoms to engage in those behaviors, okay? This is the very foundation of society. The Democrats are trying to shift the Overton window so far to the left in the political spectrum that there's no room left anymore but totalitarianism. And the same does apply to right as well, which results generally in fascism, all right? And this is what we call political spectrum. Very simple concept. I got a big episode I'm going to do on that in the near future, and I can't wait to talk. So we're talking about this. So how does this affect you? Well, critical race theory is a Marxist ideology. I've read some of it as well. And what they're trying to do is basically get everybody to sit here and say and believe that basically everybody is racist. Most importantly, white people. You're the most racist. You don't even realize it. That's where you get into there's a bunch of psychology studies that prove this supposedly. I've read them. They're full of garbage. It gets into really weird parts of your psyche and well, simple neurology breaks that. I've studied cognitive neuroscience for, I don't know what now, 6 years. And to be honest, your brain doesn't operate at the level that these people are saying, and I can prove that with a few very simple experiments. You don't have natural racism. Why? Because then, well, okay, let me break that theory. If everybody's naturally racist, then how come a 5-year-old Caucasian child just doesn't walk up to another child and starts beating up a child of a different, race? I never have seen that. I've never seen a child beat up another kid unless they were taught to by their parents. Racism is taught. Racism is something you learn. Is there maybe some possible inherent, latent forms of it? I'm sorry. If it is, I believe it's minuscule. It's literally like this weird ghost in the shell. Okay? Now, I'm not sitting here saying racism doesn't exist. It does. But there's also different forms of discrimination as well. More importantly is financial or class discrimination, which I experience every day. You have no idea how many times I've been at UW Stout or I was at UW Marathon County, and I experienced the richer kids, like Hulkowski and them, would walk up to me and they would just beat on me and be like, "You're a poor little punk. You don't even belong in our college. You can't even tie your shoelaces the way they should be tied." Well, I didn't know there was a specific way I had to tie them because I was never taught. Because people at different classes and different economic strata in society have different customs, and you better learn them. It's not the reasoning why I'm wearing this shirt, but I tell you what, it makes a difference. Okay? It's a difference between you getting a job. For example, here goes one for you. A friend of mine told me, if you got a pocket in your shirt and you go to a high-level executive job, and you go to a job interview wearing a shirt, this is a nice shirt, I wore this, but because it has this pocket, that's it, it's over. I'm not getting that job. That's a fact. This pocket would cost me a job interview. Those are the little things they don't teach you. At the higher economic strata, which I have friends that are at that higher level, and believe me, I have tons of shirts that don't have these pockets. Let me tell you something. Facts. You ain't getting in. You ain't getting into nothing. One hair out of place. Why? It's human beings creating what we call in-group, out-group bias. Because we want to be pack. We want to be a part of the pack. We want to be a part of a tribe. We want to be obviously as part of the strongest tribe possible. Okay? So how does this relate to current events? Well, and how does this relate to critical race theory? Critical race theory is wrong. It should be called critical economic theory because that's where the real pressing's coming. And I don't think we're going to ever get rid of that. I don't like it. I think it's horrific, but it's human nature. It's dark. And we have to, not saying necessarily get used to it, you have to grow a thick skull, a thick skin, a thick skull. And you better be prepared to learn how to do as the Romans. Just don't become the Romans. If people above you, whether they're using their race, their position, their authority, or most importantly, their economic status to beat you down in society, you have to remember one thing. And this is what I keep forgetting. This is why I keep getting into trouble. This is why, the power of little words escapes me. It's because you react emotionally. And you have to remember that these things that they're using to beat you are artificial constructs. This is where postmodernism does get it right. I am going to have to admit that. The fact it's married to Marxism and nihilism, well, that's a different story. That does not work. This is where it shifts that Overton window I've just discussed so far to the left, and in some cases to the right, that it becomes destructive to the society, because the majority that's in the middle that want to enjoy the freedoms that we have because they give up certain freedoms in order to create laws, in order to create a better system for us to live in, they can't function in that environment. And that's where we're approaching right now. We have people attacking each other based on their beliefs. And then we have a system, the ability via social media to confirm whether or not that person is a bad person in our eyes. Basically, everybody hates each other. I see it all the time. I see people that are friends 1 minute, 2 days later are beefing over small nothing. This is why I generally don't argue anymore. I won't argue in public anymore. This is the only medium that I'm safe to talk about all this with all of you. Unless you're in person or you're in my home, I'll be throwing, guest starring stuff. I've got a few guests I'd love to bring on the show. My friend Anthony F, if you would love to come on and be one of my first guests on the show, I would love to have a sit down and long discussion with you about digital currency and the impact on the geopolitical status in the world. I mean, these are just some of the things I'm going to be talking about on this channel. I finally got my head unstuck, people. I realize I can't be afraid to talk, and I cannot try to take too far of a right or a left stance on something. It's just, I'm not saying I'm in the middle. I'm not a complete moderate. Like I said, I believe in certain things. If a woman wants to get an abortion, she should get one. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But I also believe if a person wants to open their church and go worship God, they should be able to do that. And I don't need the federal government telling me that. Okay? My rights don't stem from your authority. My rights stem from me being born. I'm a naturalist. There was a very famous philosopher that settled that debate a long time ago. I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to do that's another one. I'm going to write this down. Philosopher of the week. I think it's John Stuart Mill that said that. It's John Stuart Mill. He was an amazing man. In today's environment, the things I'm saying. All right, so let's get on that. Tim here's going to be talking about how leftist language manipulation echoes Maoist China speech control, which is true, but the Republicans do that as well on their end through religious belief systems. So I can make that argument from both sides. But right now, he who controls the meaning of words in the grand narrative that we are in holds a pen mightier than any bullet, sword, bomb, or construct created. Because if I can control how you think via the meaning of words, it's over. And this is what they're doing to your kids. This is why critical race theory is so bad. Because it's married to Marxism. Because it comes from Marxism. It is, well, Tony, Marxism. Look, I'm going to lay this out. I'll say it again, like I've said, in 4 different restaurants to 15 different friends as of late. There is no F-ism out there. There is no form of government. There is no ism. Communism, capitalism, anarchyism, whatever you want to call it, totalitarianism, fascism, all of them. None of them work. They all result in disparity, and they all result in inequality in the end. Flat out. The best system that seems to work, like Jordan Peterson says, is capitalism. The problem is we're approaching the end of that in its current form. I think the capitalism married to socialism is a good mix. They kind of check each other. The capitalism creates the inequality. The socialism comes in and says, all right, I'm going to allow this to continue, but we need to provide a safety net for those who want to try to go up the ladder. Because pure capitalism results in pure inequality. It results in in income disparities, and it does result in people suffering. It results in people that work for substandard wages. Anybody remember the 20s? Anybody remember the union movement in this country? None of this is new. These are all arguments from 100 years ago. We're just going back through it again. Cyclical. It's the House and Strauss cycle that Tim keeps talking about and doesn't really understand because he hasn't read it. I studied Strauss and House cycle. I have several of their books. I have The Fourth Turning. I'm going to buy a bunch of their other books and I'm going to read them. And another thing we're going to see on this channel is you're going to see people, I'm going to do in-depth. I'm going to pull the book out. I'm going to go to pages. I'm going to grab quotes. I'm going to cite my sources. Nobody's doing that. My friend Dwayne always keeps coming to me and says how that Americans should be better read. I could not agree more. Instead of sitting here and shoving watching some of the things that you watch, I'm not saying you should do this, but you might want to consider becoming more informed at a fundamental level, not at the Tim Pool level. This guy, he understands it at a fundamental level, but he can't articulate it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go deeper, and I'm going to do deep dives. Adam Kriegler, thank you for that. Doomcock, thank you for that. You're one of the best deep dive guys out there. A lot of people don't realize that Doomcock talks about things on a level that most people don't understand. I get the guy, dude. You're an awesome. I cannot wait. I'm finally on, man. This is so great. But from the current events aspect of this, we need to see it as it is. Strauss and Howe nails it. This is nothing new. Critical race theory has been around already once. A lot of people don't realize it, but look what happened in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. They had a similar form of it with the Jews. Let's move forward from current events. There's so much I could talk about. Current events, I think I should do a 1 hour show of current events per week personally. It's a huge, I love current events. It was one of my favorite classes in high school, honestly. It's time to move on. Let's talk about pop culture. All right. So, how does popular culture relate to current events? All right, let's break this down. Popular culture fits into that Overton window, which relates to the contractarian theory of belief systems being agreed upon by most of a particular society. Now, being America is a polyphonic culture, meaning of one of many. It's a very atomized culture to begin with. And then if you throw in the internet, we're even more atomized. So this is why we're seeing such an atomized pop culture now. It's segmenting, it's breaking up. A similar situation occurred in Rome a long time ago, okay? Which resulted in the breakup of Rome. I don't want to see a civil war. I don't want to see the country break up. I want to see this country live on. I think we can weather this storm, honestly. It doesn't need to be violent. Let's have this great war, this great turning, and let's do it with the power of those little words. Let's have a marketplace. I'm going to be doing a rant for my friend Dwayne and his channel and Kevin's channel soon, and we're going to talk about this. And one of the biggest things I'm going to talk about in the marketplace of ideas is the power of these little words. And How to Win and Influence Friends by Dale R. Carnegie, an amazing author, and how we can relate better to people in the marketplace of ideas and how we need to restore civil course. I got a big soapbox rant coming up. That's the soapbox I'm kind of on right now. But in the pop culture analysis, popular culture is a reflection of the modern day society. Okay? So this is where, when you get into things like who's running Disney, like Gary Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy out there talks about constantly. Jeremy, you are awesome. I love your channels. I don't just watch you, though. I watch Emergency Awesome. I want everybody to know this. I am not an officially affiliated, and I'm sure they don't want me anyway, officially with Midnight's Edge, the Fandom Menace. I'm not a part of Geeks and Gamers. I'm not allied with them. I refer to these guys just like I would Nerd Cookies or Emergency Awesome or anybody else out there that's a good internet. Rob Explains, for God's sakes, is a great channel. That's where I learned about Sylvie for the Loki show, which that's another big thing. I'm going to be doing reviews too. Amazing stuff, guys. Like, amazing stuff. There's so many good channels out there. I don't lock myself into a brand. I am not going to be branded as the Rogue Scholar, which, by the way, you just branded yourself. No, that is a name. That's a moniker. There's a difference. Being branded is when you're, like, for example, you go buy Louis Vuitton, or Vuitton, or whatever the hell, a clothing that has it written all over it, okay? Branding yourself is when you say, I'm a Democrat, and you brand yourself as a Marxist or something. I don't get into branding. I don't wear Levi's on my chest. That's why I like subtle clothes. Okay? I like clothing that doesn't have that. I like my cars to not have big lettering all over it. No. Branding means allegiance, and it also means allying yourself to something, which means that you've then taken on the ideological foundations of that brand. I am not doing that. I am all over the place. I'll go from watching, for example, Comics Explains to St. Mises to Salty Cracker to Power Nation to The Alien Scientist to Timcast. I'll go watch Vaush. I'll go watch MSNBC. I don't care. Why? I feel a part of being the Rogue Scholar is to dip myself into all these little pools of ideas in these marketplaces and sample them all for you. What this allows for is to create what we call a spectrum, an idea of where each of these atomized cultures sit on the culture, the Overton window, the political spectrum, the cultural spectrum, and how practical are they in the marketplace of ideas. This is the most important function as an informed citizen and as a consumer you can have in the marketplace of ideas. Okay? This is where you get into being the difference between being a fan and a fanatic. Fans are awesome. Fanatics are not. And I've had to struggle with being a fanatic for a good portion of my life. But the pop culture analysis, let's talk about, we'll just keep this one kind of short. Let's talk about the soon departure of Kathleen Kennedy from Disney. Doomcock and The Atlantic have both repeatedly stated that Kathleen Kennedy is either going to leave as her lead in the role and the Civil War at Disney for Lucasfilm is over, and that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are going to take over. Some people have some assuasions about Dave Filoni. I personally don't. I think Jon Favreau will rein him in quicker than a wild horse on the back of a field. Okay? Kennedy is out. Well, what does this mean? How does this affect current events? Well, it's going to affect the Overton window. Why? Culture, popular culture, is one of the foundations of a society. It is. Star Wars is one of the foundations, the mythos. As Doomcock keeps relating, I love him. I keep referring to this guy. You get it, man. I hope you watch this video. I really want you to. Please watch this, man. I know it's going to be long-winded, but bro, if you can get to this, I would... Dude, I just learned so much from the guy every time I listen to him. Doomcock nails it. Pop culture and your mythos is one of the pillars of your society. He or she or whomever controls that. In this case, the corptocracy, which has shifting allegiances due to the CEOs that run it, are what generate the mindset and can shift an Overton window. They can shift the particular mindset through subtlety and nuance of narration to whether or not you go further left or further to the right as a society. And this Overton window is key, and culture influences it. Music, culture, because as Michael Savage says, what is the makeup of a country? A country is a gathering of people that have agreed to create a society that have three things: borders, language, culture. Why? You have to have a common place to meet to exchange the ideas, language. You have to have a common place to meet on what you believe in or discuss ideas, hence culture. And finally, you have to have borders to establish the boundaries of the society. And those boundaries aren't just lines on an imaginary map. They're also moral and cultural, obviously, but more importantly, ideological. There are borders. There are fringes that relate back to what is called a political spectrum, which in our case is a vertically collectivist society. The more power you attain, the more authoritarian you can become, the more you can influence a culture, a society, and therefore the Overton window, therefore shifting the power and the belief of people. Currently, right now, the Marxists want your youth. Why? They know they're not going to shift the Overton window with the older folks. They're betting on 20 years from now. And that's what makes them so dangerous. This is why they're going after popular culture. This is why they're trying to supplant the ideas of morals and what we should believe in their media, their culture, their narration, and most importantly, your schools. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to me. I'm too old for them. They know they're not changing my mind. They don't give a shit. They want your kids. Hence why Kathleen Kennedy being fired, because she's a hard leftist. She employed lots of hard leftist people. The sequel trilogy was a narrative nightmare. It was a woke creation, and let me not even use woke, because woke can be a good thing, and I'm going to make that argument successfully too. Woke is not all that bad. It's just how you use the concept. It's like my friend Wayne said, it's a big spectrum. That's a big blanket. That's a big tent you're in. Okay? But the hard leftist ideological functions, no, I have problems with that. Okay? So more importantly is Kathleen Kennedy, you're going to see a shift in the Overton window at Disney. We're going to, so like, for example, I use The Bad Batch. I use the latest couple episodes. The Mandalorian was a shift away from that. You're seeing a more centrist or a marketplace of ideas. Like, the whole point of narration in pop culture is for the argument of capitalism and communism to play out. You write stories where you have these elements of these two competing ideological governmental functions playing out in your narrative. A good writer will subversively inject through their metatext and their narratives and their subtext in their narrative into their story to get you to think about it from each of those perspectives, whether it be anarchist, libertarian, whatever, or from the eyes of a family man who doesn't even know what any of this means. My personal stories, the things I'm going to be writing in the near future, will reflect that. That Overton window, the competition of the ideas, the marketplace, and what it means to be a fan. What it means, most importantly, to be a person lost in this sea of digital insanity that Hideo Kojima predicted 20 years ago in Metal Gear Solid. But yeah, they're talking about that. Harrison Ford apparently suffering injuries all the time on the set of Indiana 5. You know, yeah, we got that one already. We can play this for half a second. So here goes another little bit of something like I watch.
Battery, 60%. Airbronic.com.
Harrison Ford injures shoulder rehearsing Indiana Jones fight scene. Production to shoot around recovery. Depending on how long the recovery is. I'm 51. If I'm going to do anything physical, I have to do like a little stretching because if I forget, it will hurt. We're getting a tree stump out of our backyard and I was down for a couple of days just because I'm old. You know, we don't bounce back. So being 78, I can't imagine, especially 2 plane crashes. Who knows what.
I don't know about you, Gary, but I bounce back, and I'm in my late 40s, but that's I work out and I eat. I don't know about you, man. I'm not saying anything bad, but I don't know about that. You can bounce back. There's just certain things you got to do.
What else he's been through?
It's an airplane that's as old as Harrison Ford is. When airplanes or engines are that old, they do have a tendency to fail.
Exclusive. Harrison Ford hurt himself rehearsing a fight scene in Indiana Jones 5. Sources tell.
Just rehearsing, mind you. So, you know, it's just like, this is some of the stuff that, how does that impact popular culture? Immensely. It's going to push back Indiana Jones 5. That's going to have a huge impact. Like, here goes a popular culture thing. Let's check this out. Susan Wojcicki delivers more bad news for YouTubers. Yeah, they're talking about how larger channels can't swing down. I watched that video. It was pretty good. Loki. Oh my God, that show. Wow, does that generate some controversy? A lot of people say it sucked. A lot of people say it don't. Okay, let me be very brief. Loki is an amazing show. I'm going to blow that out of the water. Does it have bad moments? Yes. Is it woke? It's on the border of that. Look, I want you guys out there to stop for a minute here. We're in the middle of Gay Pride Month, okay? Loki's been released. They announced he was gender fluid. Some people are saying he's bisexual, pansexual, fine. I really don't care. We're talking about a character that metamorphs into both male and female people. Of course, Loki's going to be those things. It's natural. Matter of fact, Marvel Comics already kind of made that. Let me go Joe Biden on you. Marvel comic books already made that out, people. It's not a big shock. Why do we care? Why do I care? How does this affect the story? Well, they're ramming leftist garbage down our throat. So, are they really? I don't think so. And then Sylvie being, Lady Loki being the Enchantress. Oh my God, the commentary I've been reading on that. Wow. Sylvie's already been was an established character in the Marvel fucking universe for like 30 years. It doesn't affect anything. She's a dead end character, by the way. Go watch Rob explain his Sylvia video. He explains it beautifully. Detach yourself from your political belief systems and get out of it. Just watch the show, man. Just watch and enjoy it. This is what I mean by the differentiation of being a fan and being a fanatic. You're being a fanatic, man. You're applying your political views to the show. Just watch the show. If you can't stand it, then don't watch it. If you can't stand that, and you want a commentary about it, and you want to look like a racist or a misogynist, be my guest, man. I don't care. Loki's good. I like the show. I think it's got some pretty cringy writing. The third episode was pretty cringy. I saw a lot of that. Ugh, there were some bad moments, but the production value's high. It's set up. The setups it's setting up for in the Marvel universe coming up. Yeah, is Marvel going to have a really bad year this year? Yeah, I'll say it. In pop culture, from the standpoint of pop culture, the Marvel universe is kind of like the big thing, and the reasoning why it is because, well, it's basically showing like where the barometer is. Disney is, I think, one of the biggest chunks of view into the Overton window. It tells you where common culture is. It's shifting. You look at all the stuff Disney's been producing. Falcon and Winter Soldier was not as woke as people say it is. I will make that argument every time and win. Falcon was a freaking nationalist. He was wrestling with his black identity. And it would have been a great show if the writers actually had brought that up and seized it. The writers fumbled the ball there. I would have loved to have written that. Oh my God. The whole black and taking that away from us stuff. What the fuck? Dude, that stuff ended with the CW, man. And if they're doing a piss poor job of taking it away from us. Okay? They're taking away from the fandom. They're taking nothing away. The SJW writers have taken nothing away. It's called headcanon. It's called, you know what, man? Get out of it. That is not canon to me. It does not exist. I'm watching it. I disregard it. It's like chunks of this book here. I didn't agree with this book. I didn't agree with every word this person says. Just because you watch something, just because you read something, does not mean that you have to continuously just blindly follow every word. No, it's called critical thinking. I learned this in my logic class at a professional level, and you can engage in it. It's real simple. It's called ask questions and then move on. Anyway, I get really sick of hearing how everything is just so god awful. There's some good media out there. Anyway, episode 4, I don't know. I'm about to watch this trailer in a little bit. That'd be a cool ass breakdown video for me. But the most important thing here is that just try to detach yourself from the left-right paradigm and watch something. This is what I've learned. I want to thank a particular friend of mine very importantly for doing that. You woke me up. Some people out there are freaking lying to you, man, and they're making money off this by peddling hate. There's a lot of that going on the internet. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm going to try to detach myself. If something is like the Karen movie, that's woke garbage. That's a bunch of... I cannot wait to go Mystery Science 3000 on that piece of crap. That's going to be amazing. All right, I'm going to do a check here on something. Wow. Wow. I'm still on. All right. I'm going to move on here in a minute. You know, in the pop culture area, Kathleen Kennedy being removed suggests a lot of things. It is my belief that Robert Kurtzman will be removed from the whole Star Trek thing. They lost millions and millions of dollars at Viacom, at CBS. Nobody's even talking about Star Trek anymore. It's a dead franchise as of right now. And if I was CBS, I would kill that for about 3 to 5 years, probably 2.5. I would put it back into production and I would bring it back. The problem is most of the actors we want to see are going to be too old by then or dead. Sorry guys, Next Gen was it, bro. So was Deep Space Nine. You know, there's a lot of good Star Trek left to be made. I just think we need to get off the fact that we're stuck on Picard. If you want me to talk about it from that perspective. But anyway, here's my theory for what's going on in the Marvel Universe. Loki, okay, the guy wrote Loki, also wrote Multiverse of Madness. Okay, fact. This is a huge setup. Disney recently just purchased Fox. Okay, they just bought Fox, and they got to get those properties up and running. They got to make money because they're going to lose money here. Black Widow's going to tank. Shang-Chi's going to tank. It's not going to make the money as like the old Avengers films did. I'm sorry, they're just not interesting characters to me. Black Widow is dead. Why do I want to go see this movie? What significance does this have to the coming timeline? I don't know, but there is something to discuss on that one. Okay, let me crack my neck and get to work here. All right, let me lay this out. Fox was purchased by Disney. They now have Fantastic Four. They now have Kang the Conqueror. They now have Galactus. They now have the Living Tribunal. They now have a bunch of access to a shit ton of Jack Kirby's characters, okay? Disney needs to activate these properties. They can shift away from their hard leftist storytelling narrative and their Disney princess crap. They can start telling hard stories again. You get the Russo brothers back. You keep this guy who's been writing Loki and the Multiverse of Madness, and this is what you do. And this is what I think they're going to do, and I think this has already been mapped out. Loki leads to the next series of films that establish the multiverse. We're going to recreate the multiverse. However they're going to do that, I don't know. They may kill the timekeepers. TVA may be lying. Kang may be behind the whole damn thing. We may not even find out what's really happening in Loki. They may go another season, we find out what's really happening here. Nonetheless, this all leads to Kang, which then leads to the Fantastic Four. Which, by the way, Kang the Conqueror is connected to Thor. There's a possibility Kang could show up in Love and Thunder. A lot of people don't know about this. Kang and the TVA originated in Thor's 372, created by Walt Simonson and some other writer, which then led to the Fantastic Four. And a whole bunch of crap with them. The TVA is a history wound up with the Fantastic Four here. Okay? So they're going to split, recreate the multiverse, and then what's going to happen is this. You're going to have a bunch of films. We're going to have to build up to Kang. We'll have Avengers 5. Then this is going to lead to Secret War. Because Multiverse of Madness is going to set up Secret War 2. The first Secret Wars, we're not going to see that. They're going to chuck it. Or they'll do a Secret Wars film to establish it, and then it'll lead into Hickman's run that brought in the Illuminati, the return of Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, the return of Captain America, and all this stuff in the Incursion timeline. If you guys aren't looking into all this, which was the second Secret Wars, you are way behind the gun. I'm telling you right now, guess who's the main players in all those things? Fox properties. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. Look at what Hickman did. Look who was in it. The leader of the Illuminati was Reed Richards. Yeah, I know how to talk into microphones quietly too. That's what's going on here. That's where Disney's going. Popular culture is going to swing with this. It's going to be the next big storyline. If Disney can get it off the ground. This will all kick off probably in Quantumania, Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder. The other two, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, they'll have minor little setups for it. Probably like some bullshit at the after credit scene to establish this thing, just like they did with Iron Man, the first Iron Man, or the second Iron Man. and other stuff like establishing S.H.I.E.L.D. They have to establish certain segments of the Marvel Universe. So, all right, so we're going to move on from that to the read of the week. All right, I got a bunch of different reads of the week for you guys out there. Since a lot of you, I'm not saying you guys on my Facebook, because everybody's on my Facebook, most of you actually are well-read people. Most of you are very intelligent. 99% of you. If you're on my Facebook, you got some brain, or you got some guts, or you got a lot of common sense. You have some large level of intelligence. So this doesn't apply to you. But I would say there's several different reads of the week. For you comic book nuts out there, read this Hawkeye. My friend Dwayne gave this to me. I finally finished it. This is an incredible read. It leads into a deeper impact of who Hawkeye is. And the format's amazing. And if you want to learn about who's next in the Marvel Universe, the female version of him, his daughter, it's going to be amazing. She is in this. Kate Bishop is going to be a major player coming up in the Marvel Universe, and you want to really see a good insight into her character, I highly recommend it. This is a well-written book. Yeah, get it. If you guys are into your Fight Club shit, I've been lately reading about Krav Maga. Is the Israeli Defense Forces martial art form. It's a very aggressive martial art form style. I'm looking currently for a friend to practice this with, as I've heard things, and I won't get into that because that's not cool. But I always believe in being prepared. I love MMA. I have not gotten out. I do know what the fuck I am doing there. And I figured, well, it's time to incorporate some of the stuff that's in this book into what I like to do sometimes. For a lot of you other guys out there, if you're a car nut, oh man, do I got a book for you here. Oh my God, I love reading. Let's see, where is it? Ah, yes, here we go. Here's a book. Let's see. Engine blueprinting, no. Let's go with, oh, damn it, where's that book? I gotta get that. Oh, it's sitting up there. I recommend How to Build Horsepower by David Vizard. For all you car nuts out there. You guys rock. You car nuts, man. Grab David Vizard's book, man. How to Build Horsepower 1, and then How to Build Horsepower 2, which is this one here. Yeah. How to Build Horsepower Volume 2, Carburetors and Intake Manifolds. Brandon, I know you're building your LS motor. You've got a big turbo on it. I say instead of going with a fuel-injected unit, you might want to consider blowing through a carburetor. It's a very simple, cheap setup. Another good book to read. Gosh, man, I got a ton of them. You know what? I think we'll move off of that. I'm done. Yeah. Guys out there, if you want to read a good book, man, reading should be like one of the most important things you do. I used to read 50 books a year. I got close to that when I was in college because just the sheer volume of textbooks and like the level of things that I have to know to be in psychology or to potentially become an attorney or to become a really great YouTuber, which by the way, that's all I've done for the last 6 months is study the YouTube medium. For example, like jump cutting, learning how to set up my studio, which I've been neglectful. I've actually been looking more at formatting, how to format a good show, how to talk to an audience, how to create a successful format environment. Where should I fall in the political spectrum? I don't want to fall in with anybody. I want to be able to have mass appeal. I don't want to be some ankle biter. You know, I think it's one of the most important things out there. Let's get on a personal note here and let's talk about that for a second. You know, being a scholar means being a true liberal, and true liberals have 10 rules. One of those is you can talk to anybody. Now, I've failed at that. And then in this environment, it's incredibly difficult to do that. It's incredibly difficult to talk to just anybody. It is incredibly difficult to take on some of the things that I've had to take on and remain disconnected passionately to the point where it becomes destructive. And I'm going to be honest, it's something I'm going to keep working on. And yes, I do have a very colorful history. I'm going to talk about that too. I have a very colorful history. I know a lot of people are not going to probably want to associate with me because of it. It's okay. I can be angry. I can be sometimes a wee bit salty. I can come off sometimes a little bit maybe off the hinges or the rails. I get it. This is the nature of the culture we live in. You know, holding a certain belief system can land you into that jail with people. Because most people don't know how to make those distinctions. There are three things I've learned most importantly: subtlety, nuance, and distinction. I fail at subtlety often. I miss distinctions all the time, and the nuances sometimes escape me. I'm just as human as any of you. And that is my personal note. When I was a server, I used to talk to, and I could talk to anybody. I used to have 22 tables every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at Golden Corral for 6 years. 22 tables, 22 different families, 22 different sets of minds, every hour, sometimes for 12 hours, 14-hour shifts. And I talked to everybody from liberals to hard leftists, and I used to connect with them all. And then 2016 happened, and the world changed. I'm not giving that up. I miss my customer of the week. I miss the kids walking up and talking to me, saying thank you. I miss the long drives. I used to drive 2.5 hours from Menominee to Stevens Point to go to work every Saturday, sometimes every Friday, for my 3 days, and then drive into Wausau where the beta site is. You know, and yes, I do have 3 different locations I can live at. How am I supporting that? That's none of your business. I have a strong support network of people who believe in me, and they will do anything for me, just about. And I worked hard to build that. You don't enshrine that kind of loyalty and that kind of, you know, networking without doing something right. And I learned that being a server. I learned that more importantly. You would think that you would learn how to talk to people in college. College has never been more divisive than my life. It is the most divisive institution. University system in Wisconsin is one of the most divisive, horrific places of learning I have ever encountered in my life. And I'll say that to every one of my professors' faces. You are some of the most aggressive, terrible people that shut down the marketplace of ideas the worst to prove whatever it is you're trying to prove. And at what cost? And you're not going to cost me my life. Fortunately for me, I have this great cultural and digital medium to say these things. All right. So I miss serving. I miss the people. I miss the running. I miss the money. I miss the environment. I miss my friend Paige. I miss the co-workers, the colorful personalities. I miss the connection the most, though. I miss all of you. Anyway, channel of the week. Well, it's kind of tough. I'm going to name The Quartering. He's a great channel. He tries to be moderate. Tim Pool's always one of my big favorites. As you can see, more of The Quartering. You know, a lot of people call him whatever you want to call. Salty Cracker's pretty good. Vaush is pretty good. He's a leftist channel. I like listening to him sometimes, just to kind of keep, you know, an eye on things. Gosh, man. I don't know. I'm going to have to name... You know what? I'm going to name Overlord DVD my channel of the week. I was on his Friday Night Frolics last night. He has one of the absolute best communities on the internet. They are supportive. As long as you don't go in trolling, you're going to be in good shape. He has the best wrenches. He has more wrenches than a mechanic shop in there, and they're all pro. I love his channel. I love his Friday Night Frolics. If you're not on there, you're not one of the cool kids, as he says. You know? He sings, and it's a welcoming environment, and I've never seen a channel with more heart. There's a lot of heart. He takes care of his super chats. He doesn't leave. He has a no man behind left policy. No man is left behind on there, on that channel. No man. No super chat is left behind. He's only done it 2 or 3 times I've seen so far. And he's been on for a considerable amount of time now. If you're looking for something more of the middle of the road, I would recommend Emergency Awesome. He's great. He has no political stand. He just lays out what's coming out, and he kind of just says, I think this is where it's going. He's really good. Another channel of the week. Man, I'm gonna save that one for next week. I'm gonna just label those 2 off, and I think those are the guys that you definitely want to do. So now we're gonna get to the final portion of the broadcast here today, on this first official episode of the Rogue Scholar, and we're gonna call this the next. And the idea of being the next is what I think you should be researching if you want to have a really relevant conversation at a water cooler in the near future. 3 more important things than anything. The first one is digital currency. I have not seen a topic more, not necessarily incendiary, but where gatherings of great minds gather to discuss than digital currency. If you're not investing in digital currency of some kind right now, you are behind the gun. I am investing heavily into digital currency. And oh yeah, it's losing its ass right now. That's why I haven't bought a lot of it. I'm just in it. When it gets really, 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 really low, that's when you buy. For all you guys out there that were in Bitcoin when it was like $4 a share, oh my God, I can't imagine. It's at $30, 30,000 something a share right now. Of course it's getting hit. The Fed's hitting it. A lot of people sit there and say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Believe this. I read way more than you think in a day. I spend 3 to 5 hours a day on YouTube watching all these different, and I do watch InfoWars as well. I watch everybody that's somebody worth watching. Max Kaiser, Alex Jones. I even watch MSNBC. I watch it all. Okay? It makes for a really well-rounded person. I watch all of it. If you want to be next, you go digital currency. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot say this enough. It is a great place to put value, to put your extra dollars to invest. Bitcoin for value wealth and storage. Dogecoin for spending. Maybe Ethereum. I would definitely get into one of those 3 for sure. I would also, if you want to be in the next, I would look at GameStop stock. My friend Tim turned me on. Timmy Trantro, I'm going to give you an official shout out, a big one. You're my shout out of the week. A few weeks ago, I went to my friend Timmy Trantro's house, and he told me about what's really going on with GameStop. I will release on my Facebook after this broadcast a series of screenshots that were sent to me of a Reddit post that I deemed to be exceptionally credible, highly credible, that has information that can make us all millionaires if you use your head. And AMC stock, I would say, is a good bet, but I know somebody else, Dwayne, a friend of mine, was telling me about certain stocks that are hot too. So I would actually consider investing in Disney stock maybe right now. I see them coming back on a good upswing if they get rid of Kennedy. If they get rid of Kennedy, I would actually consider that a sound financial move. Why? Because Star Wars is going to get good again, and it could be really good, like to the point where the stock may move. Because if Star Wars becomes really great again, they build theme parks. If they build theme parks and they get their merch off, and the economic conditions are right, and it inflates. This is how capitalism works, people. If you want to be in the next, you're doing digital currency, you're looking at stocks, you're keeping an eye on certain events within popular culture, and more importantly, you're watching what the government is doing. One hand, watching the other. My next thing for the next. You want to get into Dune. Dune is going to be the hottest IP, intellectual property, on the planet after Dune releases. The general populace has not woken up to Dune yet, but it's about to. And if you're doing videos like Nerd Cookies here, Nerd Cookies is on fire. There's another guy, Quinn's Ideas. He's another good channel too. You want to watch Quinn's Ideas. He nails things, man. Yeah, here we go. This is a sampling of Nerd Cookies. Here we go.
Battery, 60%.
Yeah. These guys got it figured out.
One of the vessels responsible for the functionality of the vast and sprawling infrastructure of Frank Herbert's universe of Dune is the massive spaceship called a Highliner. In this video, I'd like to discuss the lore surrounding these Highliners, as well as the role these massive vessels play in the Dune saga. Set some 20,000 years into mankind's future, at the beginning of Frank Herbert's story, an organization...
So you can see why I like the channel. Nerd Cookies is something you grab an iced coffee to. You flip on your favorite episode of something for background. Just leave it on blank. Maybe you're reading a book. And you flip this on. And if you want to be in the know on what's next, it's Nerd Cookies, man. This girl's got it figured out. It's laid back. It's not political. It is so good. It's an escape. This channel is such an escape. It's such a great place to be, and it's gonna be one of the formats that I'm gonna operate on in YouTube. It's this laid back, chill, like, hey man, you're here. Oh, you're here to listen. All right, let me get you set up. Let me get you that cup of Java, and you can just relax and get yourself, picked up. All right. This is the next. These guys are the next. Another really good next channel is Clownfish. They really know what the hell they're talking about. Those are two insiders. I don't know. Neon and Geeky Sparkles are bomb. I love listening to them, their channel. They can be a little bit left, or not left, but a little bit right. But if you just listen to them, because they're part of the Corptocracy. They were in it. They maybe still are. They have the behind the scenes. Tom at Midnight's Edge is another one. Oh my gosh, them guys, they know what the hell they're. They know executive level movement. I have executive level contacts in the world. I kind of know what's going on in a few places, and I talk to those people often. That's another thing. If you're going to be out there, you're going to be on the Rogue Scholar, you better have your ears on, man, and you better have your phone handy. Because I'm going to come at you. I may come at you. Like, that's another thing I want to dispel too. This channel is not going to always be polished. I love Garrett Jeremy's Geeks and Gamers car videos. I'm going to do car videos. I'm going to do car videos. I'm going to do On the Run. That's going to be a segment I do. It's called On the Run. Let me write that down. Drivers, we'll call it the Drivers Forum. And Drivers Forum is going to be when I'm in my car. That's going to be that stream of thought shit. You looking for that stream of thought? I'm going to be giving that to you. You're going to be like, yeah, I want to listen to this guy. I just like the way he talks. I may not always be consistent. That's what the comments box for, people. Hit me. Ideas, whatever. I want this place to be a safe, not space, but a place you can come to and you can get somebody that's kind of looking at things from a back step perspective. I'm stepping back from my own belief systems. A scholar in Aristotle's eyes was a person that can detach themselves from their belief systems and discuss an idea and playing as a devil's advocate. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it to you that way. I'm going to send it to you straight. And sometimes I'm going to give you my opinion. You may not like it. But one thing's for sure, you won't forget it. But if you're going to be next, you want to be in Dune. And Dune is the greatest science fiction, one of the greatest science fiction properties of all time. Why? The machine revolution that most science fiction gets stuck on, this automaton crap, is a freaking footnote in the history of Dune. They call it the Butlerian Jihad. the machine revolution. And human beings finally got sick and tired of machines keeping us around like pets. It's a footnote in the history of Dune, in the world of Dune. And what I love about Dune as an IP is this expansionist psychology of the human mind and the exploration of the human condition at its most fundamental levels. Our emotions. How do they relate to logic? How do they relate to our development? How does pushing oneself via the use of the emotional state bring us to the higher levels of consciousness that we have attained today? This is probably one of the most important things that Dune brings to the table. Science fiction is not about this. This is only but a part of the journey, people. The toys. It's the humans, man. It's about us. And I'm a humanist. I don't believe in the idea of us merging with machines. I've gotten to that discussion with my friend Dwayne many times, and you know, Ray Kurzweil talks about the singularity. Well, I've got another guy I'm going to bring out later. He's a current scientist for one of Microsoft. He's an amazing guy. I can't remember his name, but I'm going to dig him up, and I'm going to do an episode about that. We're going to have that discussion here. All right? So that's it, guys. This is my first official broadcast. I'm going to drop my farewells. Notables of the week. You guys, Maverick, you're a notable. You're an amazing guy. My friend Dwayne Hawthorne for pushing me to get this microphone and finally getting my head right and where I'm going to fall in the spectrum of the media. I want to be a moderate. I want to be in the middle with my belief systems out in the open. I know that I have haters out there. They're chasing me right now. You don't matter. I don't care. I can't respond. I don't want to get caught up in the drama. I want to get caught up in the substance. I want to get caught up in the substance. I want to talk about science fiction like how fans should, artistry, and the deeper aspects of the points that these authors that we're going to, these fantastic situations we're going to talk about, what they really mean. If you can't handle that, man, then I get it. I understand. I get it. You know what, man? It's all right. It's cool. Maybe I'm not your cup of tea. Maybe Nerd Cookies is. Maybe Gary G Geeks and Jamers is. Maybe Vaush is. Maybe a hard leftist channel is your thing. Hey, it's out there. Go enjoy it. That's all I'm trying to say. A friend said to me, read and enjoy it. And you know what? To my friend, I've been reading. And man, have I been enjoying it. I'm about to start drawing again, too. I'm going to do artist videos. And for you car nuts out there, I've got cars I'm building. I'm not just one thing, man. I'm not just a psychology major. I'm a guy who's 47 years old, who's read so many effing books and memorized so much crap and have been in college for 10 years of his life, on and off, and has experienced so much. I got something for you here. I might do a car repair video of the week. I may document my 69 build again. I got friends out there. My guy Mike Schneidenwent, the greatest car nut I've ever met in my life. You hold that title, Mike. You are the greatest car guy I've ever met. I've never met a guy who has more skill with a car. Never. You know. My friend Dwayne is one of the best computer guys I've ever met. My friend Logan, you're one of the biggest cults of personality I've ever had in my life. I got great people surrounding this channel, and I can't wait to bring you all in. I can't wait to go Joe Rogan and have you whisper into that microphone, man. Let's bend our minds a little bit. Let's explore the universe together. And let's read a lot. Fear is the mind killer, and reading is the mind builder. Peace.